Always have an agenda, always plan your future in advance. So many people go through life without knowing where they're heading. They start smoking, they start bad habits, they don't even go to the gym, and at the end they simply accept life as it comes. Because this is really, really important for you to understand, especially because you are only given a moment at a time when you can change for the greater, for the better future, for the future self who can look back and see, yeah, I did the right change at the right time. And I've never wasted the time, the money, the resources, other people's time, other people's money and resources. I'm not a burden on somebody else's life. In fact, I help people achieve what they want because I live through the power of my own example, right? Very few people can actually achieve this self-reliance point. So there are these people who are autonomous and they live through the power of their own example. You want to be one like them. If you don't journal, if you don't contemplate, if you don't reflect on your life, if you don't plan, then you have no clear direction in life. You are more like an observer than a direct participant to what happens with you. So the worst case scenario, what can happen in this case, is that you rely more on the government, more on a salary, a paycheck that is, more on other people's opinion, what the media lies to you, and obviously your biological drives and your impulses, without regarding you as a possibility to take action for the foreseeable future, where your goals can involve others as well. Because this is not just about you, and I'm sounding like ChatGPT, goddammit. This is not just you in this picture. It's the many people come into contact with you. They can look up to you and see you as an example. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how to cultivate that secret source, like the secret side, where you can turn everything in your favor and begin to lead your life with a proper clarity and direction so you can know how to do the right thing at the right time. Okay, so we have journaling and then we have planning. There are two sides of the same coin. This is your past, this is your future. This is your direction, this is where you build awareness. But direction without awareness is basically stalling, is basically heading towards nothing. Now, when you journal, you slow down your experience. Here, you start seeing yourself how you actually think, not how you imagine you think. So it's perception training. But awareness alone doesn't move anything. Planning is what converts insight into structure. It takes what you've observed about yourself and forces it into decisions, priorities. So it's applied self-knowledge. Right now, reflection without direction stalls. You understand your life, but nothing changes. While direction without reflection drifts. Because people move, usually, towards the wrong targets. Being driven by the impulses rather than their planning. Or their inner direction or purpose or mission. Right? So what we have to do is to balance the two. And when we do, something interesting happens. You no longer fantasize about your future or reacting to your past. You're actually coordinating both. And that's how you prepare yourself for maximum clarity, right? This is the system. And here's where most people think about planning as being an organizing or a productivity system, while I look at it as being an identity mechanism. You change the priorities. You don't ask yourself how you feel, but rather, what do I have to do? What my system needs? What my business needs? What do I have to do? Because I am. And that's a completely different mental position. Okay, so what this does is actually helping you avoid errors and making fewer mistakes based on your observations and lessons you took from journaling. Okay, so you have observation, you have the lessons you took from those, and then you have reflection on your life, on your future, and obviously your trajectory. So planning in a nutshell comes from and should come from your observation only. Observation will have to lead to a course correct. This is the best formula for improving anything. Planning. You will need to plan everything, especially your life direction. And remember, you are a human being. You will constantly evolve. You will transform into somebody you're not. Your identity will take on multiple stages across your lifetime. And so you will need to adapt by taking on the lessons, by reflecting on those lessons, and then becoming an observer. Then you will course correct. That is, you will have the ability, with other words, to choose a course in a clear and conscious manner rather than being assigned to you by society and thus being conditioned to a very high degree where you cannot even live your life to the degree you want. Because this is very important. So many people go through life being conditioned by their own tradition, by their own system they've built and maintained. And as long as it ensures survival, yeah, I understand, it's good. It does ensure survival. And the system runs like clockwork, which is good for the system, but not for the individual's creative potential. And so what you need to understand here on planning is that most of the planning structure people live inside were never designed by them. Right? Check this out. So we have the schools, which is planning your learning trajectory. Then you have the workplaces, which they plan your allocated time and your priorities within that framework. And then you have your social norms, like your career, relationships, lifestyle, Instagram likes, Facebook photos. And over time, something crazy happens. You begin to believe that what you're actually experiencing, you say is you planning, but you're actually programmed to behave and to plan according to a predetermined structure that attacks your freedom of free will. And this becomes a big mistaken certainty that most people take for granted, and it shouldn't happen like that. And so I want you to wake up. Simply observe, notice what happens, because your creativity requires that mental space. You need to plan, but plan on a structure that you've built around your life. Don't plan on what society throws at you. That's never gonna work. There are so many people, they reach a certain age, and their thinking is so trapped within the system, then they begin to ask not what I can create, but rather what can I optimize within the system. Like their own potential and their own willpower and their own imagination is there to feed the system as a battery, to make it run better, to recruit more people. But with the help of the internet, that's changing slowly, and we see more creators transcending to being an individual company. You gotta be very careful within which system you're going to plan from. I want you to understand that the system is built to make you behave and to act not through force, but rather through valuation. And here is where planning can be an instrument of autonomy or an instrument of conformity. Now, when planning emerges from self-authored intention, it amplifies agency. And we know that the agency is the ability to act without permission. But when planning emerges from unconscious programming, it becomes your behavior. And so we have a question of which structure should you use, but the answer should be quite clear for you now, right? So if planning can either reinforce conditioning or strengthen autonomy, the real question becomes, how do you reclaim authorship? How do you ensure your plans reflect intention rather than inheritance? And everything starts with a conclusion most people never reach throughout their lives. And here we have borrowed goals and constructed goals. This conclusion people never reach. They go through life without understanding. Alright, these are socially, alright, so here we have conditioning and here we have agency. Which side do you want to play on? Agency, this is what you need. At conditioning, we have the social norms like productivity, income, and social status. Can be more. At the agency level, on the other hand, constructed goals emerge differently. These goals require friction, require questioning. They are uncertain. They are original because they originate from within, from yourself. And everything that originates from within is normal to be uncertain. Original requires you to be questioning rather than the borrowed goals where conditioning, everything is preset. Everything is a system. You know what to do and it's easy. Choose to construct your own goals and become a planner today, right? This will give birth to your agency. Never start your day without having a plan for that day. Never start your week without having it written down. Never start your month and your year without having a plan for that year. So if you're not sure which side you're on, check my video on questioning and you will understand how to ask better questions, how to be a learner and actually give yourself the chance to be a high agency individual. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next videos.